Norwegian government headed in for Watson, but no one ever dreamed the lengths they would go to lock him up. So rather than wait till he set foot on shore in Oslo, the Norwegians decided to capture Watson at sea. And for that, they sent out the Indennis, believed to be one of the largest warships in their navy at the time.
I want to inform you that the intentions of the Norwegian government is to take you under arrest and bring you to the nearest port. Norway are willing to use whatever means we need to take your ship.
You know, so if I'm going to lose my ship, I might as well have you take it from me.
Actually, what's really amazing is the Norwegian government actually sent out a warship to get him. For some reason, countries, as I say, treat the environmental group Sea Shepherd as another country. We are a very small organization. But instead of allowing Watson to go to shore and ask to be allowed into Norway, where they could have arrested him easily, they sent a warship to show how big and strong they were, and that a bunch of little environmentalists couldn't tell them what to do. What a mistake. They fell into Watson's perfect media trap, right up to their neck, and almost drowned in it. For those of you who thought it was dangerous, it was perhaps, but it worked. Norway was scorned, nothing happened in the end to Sea Shepherd, and quite frankly, Norway is still a whaling nation, but a lot of people in Norway never even knew it at that time that they whaled. Now they at least know it, and they can stop it on their own, and they should. But it isn't. The Lofoten Islands, where they whale, is a very important political area in Norway, and the Norwegian government, even though it claims it's green, doesn't seem to want to be able or have the political power or bravery to do something about it. Watson did.
I don't understand his actions here. He's just sitting off. This would be the time to attack us, but he hasn't done so.
Their rope missed our props, but managed to snag the rudder, jamming it badly enough that we had trouble steering the ship. It was at this point that the captain of the Indennis announced his intention to open fire, beginning with a warning shot across the bow.
This is Wales Forever, over. I understand you're going to fire on our ship, over.
Take shelter, get the people in safety. We intend to stop you then, over.
Those of us who traveled with Watson knew we had nothing to fear. One way or another, we would come out on top. But everyone else was scared shitless, because if there ever was a sitting duck, we were that duck.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared for every person on this boat. I'm the medic here.
They warned us that they would fire and kill people if that's what it took to get this ship under control.
And you have to take the responsibility for that.
Well, it's very easy to wash your hands there, Mr. Pontius Pilate, but if you fire that gun and you hurt anybody, the responsibility is yours. Over.
Lisa panicked. She got on the radio.
The leaders of various countries seem to fall into Watson's traps. They fall into him time and time again. Like I said, if they'd just waited, he would have landed in Norway, he would have walked ashore, and they could have walked away with him. But with 28 or 30 journalists from around the world on board, let's shoot at him. That sounds like a good idea. Well, literally, it was news across Europe.
They just fired at us.
That was not across the bow, that was at us. That didn't go across the bow, that landed right there. Put out a mayday that we're under attack by the Norwegian Navy.
Take my advice and confer with your superiors before you make a complete fool of yourself and kill people, over.
I'm in contact with my superiors all the time, so thank you for the advice.
Okay, I think we've got the State Department on the line. I think we can connect. No, hold on one second.
They're firing upon us. Do you understand? Have you ever been fired upon?
Julie and Jenny, they're laughing the whole time.
Now, you may be denying this, but this is happening, and you're going to look awfully fucking stupid when they kill us.
The French embassy in Paris.
Call the French embassy.
Mr. Watson, would you like to join us?
In the midst of all this, a Norwegian news station called on the ship-to-ship channel, wanting to conduct an interview with Paul.
I will put you now into the studio, and you will be on the air, okay? That's good. Now, okay, I have to ask you one simple question. What did you eat for breakfast today, actually, Mr. Watson?
Because the idea was to bang against the base plates of the ship. Ships are made by plates of steel, and sometimes they loosen up around the edges where the welds get weak. So their idea was to, with their concussions grade, was to shake one of our hull plates loose and therefore sink us, hopefully without killing anybody, I think. because they didn't really shoot at the ship. You can see where it lands in some of the video. It didn't lead right at the ship, and hopefully there were better shots than that. But actually, this particular ploy of putting depth charges were also trying to sink us, with 28 journalists on board. Good idea.
Good hull. You know, this has got a thick hull. Otherwise, it would, a normal fishing boat, it would break it.
Well, the borders are quite clear. You are still inside Norwegian territorial waters.
We have triggered a satellite.
The only repercussions of this whole campaign legally were Sea Shepherd was fined for setting off that buoy. Those buoys were only supposed to be sent off in emergency measures. This time was not considered an emergency, and so therefore they received a fine, I think, of somewhere near 10 grand. I'm not sure, I wasn't involved at the time. They were assessed a fine for setting off the EPIRB without reason. I mean, really, they're getting shot at by the Navy, and they really did that as their clever way of marking exactly where they were when the shots were fired. So if it ever came up in international court years later, they could say we were or we were not in Norwegian waters. And there's a lot of debate about that, as you will see in a minute.
Watson believes the Indennis rammed us intentionally, but I'm not so sure, because they hit the strongest part of our ship with the weakest part of theirs.
When you start whacking a warship, you want to know exactly where you are, because if you are in Norwegian waters and you whack into one of their warships, even if it's their fault, you're going to go to jail. But in international waters, there is question on whose fault it was, and if you look at the video closely, it looks like the Norwegian captain pretty much made a mistake. For whatever reason, he made a turn thinking he was either going to get by the Whales Forever ship and miss it, or that the Whales Forever ship was too slow or too fast, but the bottom line was the Whales Forever ship had a rudder jam, and so they weren't operating at the best efficiency. Warship made a mistake, and in ships it takes a long time and you can't correct those mistakes, and he just whacked them. Wrecked the ship.
Warship, that it was almost cheaper to scrap it than to fix it. As much as we'd like to take credit for wrecking the Indennis, we have to concede that one to her captain.
Actually, it's interesting that many foreign governments, especially the smaller ones, have asked Sea Shepherd to help them in the past. We had a deal with Brazil. We've had a deal with Palau. We've had a deal with other countries now, with the Galapagos, the Cocos Island, in Costa Rica, and so all over the world, various governments see that the Sea Shepherd isn't that horrible group people claim them to be, but they actually are enforcing international regulations. Big countries can come in and absolutely rape local fisheries. They can circle small islands with nets and kill off all the local catch. These countries do not have navies to protect them. They get Sea Shepherd. And we get calls all the time, and oftentimes we make deals with foreign countries to patrol their waters. In this case with the Galapagos, we still have a station down there. In the Cocos, every time we go through, we stop and see those boys. And every time we go through, their arrest record goes high. Because their boat's 15, 16, 17 feet. Not a match for those poachers. Our boat, they have to listen, as you'll see.
Enjoy a few of its legendary wonders.
And without showers and, hot water and other things, when you get to an island, it's real nice to just take a bath in the pool. Our crews get to swim and see and actually visit some of the most beautiful places on Earth. And one of the reasons we get to visit them is those are the places that are most threatened, and we go where we can help. Those are some of the benefits. The real benefit, though, is knowing that you've done right. The Cocos Island, the sharks around the Cocos Island, and other marine sanctuaries are there because of people that, like us, and others who have volunteered, who have put their lives on the line to get rid of these illegal fishing operations. In this day and age where illegal fishing is almost more prosperous, it is more prosperous, but almost more prevalent than legal fishing, we have to do something. Intimidation is the word of the day. Don't hurt anybody and intimidate them. But we intimidate them with humor, a pie gun, rotten eggs, paintball guns, butter acid, which is rotten butter thrown on board. That is the best way to intimidate people and not hurt them. Everybody's afraid and says we shoot them or guns. Actually, in the Cocos one time, we were accused of machine gunning a crew. Actually, with a paintball gun, we put red dots across their stern. It was a paintball gun, but the newspaper said we were machine gunning a crew. We use all kinds of tactics, non-lethal, non-violent. In our opinion, violent is something you cannot do against an object. Violence is something that's done against a living being, not against an object. What we do is aggressive nonviolence, but nonetheless, we do it with a bit of tongue-in-cheek humor, and it usually works. When you're bigger than them and your boat's bigger than them, it usually works.
On this occasion by Lindsay Holloway, a formidable weapon in her own right.
The Sea Shepherd is approximately 2 kilometers ahead of us. They have chased down 2 fishing
We have
boats.
lots of crew members like old Lindsay, men and women. And on any given day, a year later or a year before, they're probably teaching your kids in elementary school. Just think about it for a minute. Anybody can do it. All you have to do is get rid of the fear and go out and do something. This person, Lindsay, I don't even remember her actually, other than I do remember when I saw the footage. We've had 4,000 to 5,000 people like her, and every one of them comes away with something, knowing that they did something and that they tried to do something, and knowing in their life that things can be done. So, gotta love Lindsay.
As Allison did her thing, we did ours. Using the Sea Shepherd as a weapon, we went about the business of scaring the crap out of poachers. We'd pull up dangerously close to some big longliner and direct them to haul in their lines and leave the national park. Sometimes they needed a little tap to get the point across. The poachers knew perfectly well they were fishing illegally, and it was obvious that we had the means, if not the authority, to enforce the law. If a fishing boat dared to return after being chased away, or refused to pull in their lines as ordered, Lindsay would close in and remind them.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to drive past these guys and make sure they're pulling up their lines. And if they're not, well, we got a cannon loaded, ready to go. And basically, that's about it.
Watson's Civil War relic shoots out nothing more harmful than a puff of smoke, but it's a surprisingly good motivator.
It was funny, after this cannon fire, there were like 6 little ships in that area, and they all go together back and forth to Costa Rica because it's quite a distance, and they're very small ships, so they go in groups. Well, 5 of them left, and one of them was stuck in the bay. And about half hour later, we noticed that the ship was coming out toward us, flying a white flag, as it was hoping we'd let it through so it could go home. We, of course, did, because we had other things to look into. Park rangers called me on the radio and said, I better get over there and take care of Allison, because she was scaring the captured crew.
You're wrong. You know you're wrong. Funny. Not too funny if I stuck it in your mouth and drug it, would it be?
A couple of women vegans can scare the hell out of even the most macho fishermen, even a group of them. They really were happy to see the cops arrive, and the cops were happy to have the boat. It turns out that that boat was, in fact, arrested by the Costa Rican Navy. It was taken back to Costa Rica, and God knows they're usually given back. We didn't find out what happened to it until we got to the Galapagos.
What did he call her? I think they called her a dirty gringo pork.
You must know.